Tiri, Mazu, Joa mi Toptang Nimo, Tanda Yamde Jansok, Tadroa mi Toptang Lingon Tiri, Lingo Amanin Dilla, Mazu Tangma, Tanda Puripunda, Tiri, Chava, Granda, Mombota, they can do in Southern Cosenri, Mazu Susu, Lazis Purumangi, Tuma Periore, Yenaya Tiri, Da Granda, Chava, Yam the Tani, Mazu, there's Gangan taken to Yenata, Mazu, Gangan Tala Matui. Lever Mombo Jenny, Mazu Puna, Lola Ganga, the Yoati, Mazu Tommy Haku, Kitchimori, Mazu Poripunda, Yosu Doga, Naro, Namayata, Tommy Haku, Kitchimori, Tichani, Yumayan, Mazu Luyons, Jambori, Mazu Pobata, Mazu Dela, Yogi, Poba, to don't say Yori, the Yenata, Machilla, Lika, Yungere, Tiris, Zanju, Zapasa, like the Yori, Tichani on the Yenata, Mazu Jansoko, Tanda. Roa mi top tang lingkong di cha de yori. Roa mi top tang lingkong di, nguni kena roa mi top tang lingkong di yu goya di, roa me la top tang yoya di, zoya che de lingkong di zuwari. Yina yang ta ngaro so la top tang mewa di, tsami kha go yori. Di cha ni yong di nga su poripunda mombo chik, nguni hukda yina ta nga su poripunda mombo chik zomja, yugla nga nya to na tongkiri namba su, sei di ka tiri, ngaro so nguni ka, diji lanzo mi yongwa ta, Gawar muci Sibdi Santa ka Tibet chade yore, Sibdi Santa ka Tibet chade yore, ta ngaroso la Jacob ta Miri, ta ngaso chik yore dan Jacob di ta jana ko la yore dan ngaso ko konsa lamin nam din chola, ngone noi Sibdi ka Santa ta kini ka teri Tibet de chabar chance kide yore. Pe yonde ngaso sangye ngaso ka Tibet de ta ki yore, ta jana okhane chomwe ka naduk di kembe ka ngaso momong bochi zom tuk yo mari, inna yang ngaroso ka ta 가 탑탑고 가서 템템 마주와디 땡기 요리 옛날 남아서 성미 가서 그 성미 그게 그거야 디 가디 나가로서 지금 좀 거야 된 좀ning 가로서 지 보바 몸보대 가서 라 깡을 요새야 그 남아디 땡 거야 디 가서 그 체크를 삼게 누구 되게 남발란지 정말라 참데 체야 참아 몸보지 레자디 슈글라냐 도나서 그래 데라 몸보지 켜자 다 가데 사와디 몸보다 하듯이야 인디 되지 나바 정말로 참데 체야 그때
중이 배치취 레서벤베니 게지 조미 톱다 니모 페나 조미 톱다 제신 제도도 도시 메네다기 네다나 아니 지니바 모고의 제림 아니 드스모 온조 쉐이 토마텔라 어라즈 당고데 아니 치즈 다리 티시게 제림 디스마 장고토소 컨넘시다 데데토는 나가나 수다다수 조토 요마레 제자 단다디 미만 텐좀 나야디 오늘서 쭉쭉질을 샤이어된 다리 수쭉 중에서 술래소 Tene anita zerim thambu dela ngoranza phe gegap chimbe gelu begyu da teje la phe gegap da miriki ani saden che geje po da po nam gi che do an kamachi gri la ngaje nyange na yu thambu dela phe gegap chimbe gelu dena ji che ni Tine ngaraso ani pegi nda ngaraso geje pa pamunam giche do ani kamachi ngaje ani nyange na yu gozu shubu 도체나 대림 숨바든다 페리미마 총수 감축라 쇼네 아니 제국이 아니 운수기 소션나규이
온들라 주체나 군대집시 침부쳐나 구자 원도 송베토 다리대 계지 저미 토당 롱어 뒤주대 숨 콜베기 니무대 십규장에기 리본 초교고 건기 캠보 기시도된 랭을 초다 공무 tun주 치미른지 초 레지 넘버 대대신기 Switzerland and Liechtenstein 필리미마 뒤쪽이 총슈기를 팀이 넘버 안데 다른 남시 딘제 교부치 강래이네 그미 가제 겸면식 대패샤 보슈낭라 겸래 하가도 안 상만라 닝 타번에 두주체 슈규이 다 다른게 이제 테스트 튼두라시에 배출 슈규이 안디 네 인지토는 슈초가 슈규이 그래서는 분유체기 변한 게 내방비 아니 켄도 유튜브에 디 멤버에 되게토는 슈 먹어봐 슈예이 Chinese government policies are forcing 3 out of 4 Tibetan students into a vast network of colonial boarding schools, taking away children from their families and communities. The number of children taken into such boarding schools from age 6 to 18 are between 800,000 to 900,000 children. This number does not include children aged 4 and 5 years. Such schools, far from the community and family environment, is Xi Jinping's core campaign to eliminate the very Tibetan identity and instead supplant Tibetan children with a Chinese nationalist identity in order to neutralize any resistance to Chinese Communist Party's rule. Add to that, CCP has in recent times ordered to close at least 5 informal Tibetan language schools in Tibet, therefore depriving Tibetan children in Tibet access to learning basic Tibetan written language, and the state-run colonial boarding schools deprive our children in Tibet from learning spoken language. Mother tongue is our identity. Our way of life, our spiritual learning and culture depends on our language. 13 years after Tibetans participated in a nationwide uprising for right and freedom, even the previous semblance of regional autonomy and ethnic accommodation towards Tibetans are disappearing rapidly. While CCP claims that Tibetan identity is protected, an explicit policy of Sinicization is altering fundamental aspects of Tibetan life: language, livelihood, and religion. This is a cultural imperialism. This approach seeks to achieve long-term political control through cultural uniformity, supplanting the identities and distinct cultures of Tibetans, Uyghurs, and other groups under CCP rule with, in Xi Jinping's words, and I quote his word, a strong sense of community for the Chinese nation in order to ensure the enduring stability of the Chinese Communist Party and the country. I unquote. Therefore, in the face of CCP's continuous violations of the fundamental rights of the people of Tibet, East Turkestan, Southern Mongolia, Hong Kong, and the never-ending COVID situation, we urge member states of the United Nations to break the silence, stand for human dignity, and follow USA, Australia, Canada, UK by diplomatic boycotting Winter Olympic in Beijing 2022. It's time for the leaders of free nations to stand united and let CCP know that freedom and dignity of all people is above commerce and above sports. We urge Swiss government not to send diplomats and politicians to attend official opening ceremony of Winter Olympics 2022 in Beijing and respect the 7,788 signed petition handed over by Swiss Tibet Friendship Association, Tibetan Youth Association in Europe, Tibetan Women's Organization in Switzerland, and Tibetan community in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. I would like to also mention that we have sent a press release. I would like to read a quotation here. When the land you are accustomed to living in, and the land of the culture you identify with, when the lifestyle and religiosity is suddenly changed into a modern city that you no longer recognize, when you can no longer find work in your own land and feel the unfairness of lack of opportunity, and when you realize that your core value systems are under attack, then the Tibetan people's panic and sense of crisis is not difficult to understand. And this is written by a group of Chinese lawyers who visited Tibet to conduct a field study to identify root causes of widespread protests in Tibet in 2008. And I hope the world leaders would listen to these writings by Chinese themselves. Thank you very much. Hey Gallo! Hey Gallo! Hey Gallo! Let the Dalai Lama! Let the Dalai Lama! Let the Dalai Lama! Boycott! Boycott!
Beijing Olympic!
Boycott!
Beijing Olympic!
Boycott!
Beijing Olympic!
두주체.
DJ 제림디 ngaran지 미만의 건서 캠베 난주이 제가 남빙에 계시는 수테로나 송도 데시 쿠바데
Shame on Chinese government! Shame! Shame! Shame on Chinese government! Shame! Shame! Boycott Beijing Olympic! 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 Tibet is burning! China is lying! Tibet is burning! China is lying! Tibet is burning! China. Long live! Long live! Long live! Let the Dalai Lama! Let the Dalai Lama!
제가 남빙에 비해서 주나 수테로나 송도 데나
Human rights!
두시 주나 수테로나
We
송도
want! We want! We want! Human rights! We want! Human rights! Human rights! In Tibet! Human rights! In Tibet! Human rights!
In Tibet!
Human rights!
In Tibet!
Beijing Dako!
Berlin!
Beijing Dako!
Berlin!
Beijing Dako! Berlin! Tibet is burning! China is lying! 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 Long live! Long live! Long live! Let the Dalai Lama! Let the Dalai Lama! Let the Dalai Lama! Release all the political prisoners! Release all the political prisoners! Release all the political prisoners! Release! All the political prisoners! All the political prisoners! Hey, hello!
Shame on China! Shame, shame! Shame on China! Shame, shame! Shame on China! Shame, shame! Beijing 2022.
Boycott.
Beijing 2022.
United Nations.
Wake up, wake up.
United Nations.
Wake up, wake up.
Tibet's burning.
China is lying.
Tibet's burning.
China is lying.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Free Tibet.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Let's the Dalai Lama.
Return to Tibet.
Let's the Dalai Lama.
Return to Tibet.
No human rights.
In Tibet.
Boycott.
Beijing 2022.
Boycott. Boycott.
Beijing 2022.
More freedom.
In Tibet.
More freedom.
In Tibet.
More freedom.
In Tibet.
We want.
Justice.
We want.
Justice.
We want.
Justice.
Tibet's money.
China is lying.
Tibet's money.
China is lying.
Wake up, wake up.
United Nations.
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 No human rights.
In Tibet.
No human rights.
In Tibet.
What we want.
We want justice.
What we want.
We want justice.
Boycott.
Beijing 2022.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
We want justice.
In Tibet.
Tibet's money.
China is lying.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
Wake up, wake up.
United Nations.
Wake up, wake up.
United Nations.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
What we want.
We want justice.
What we want.
We want justice.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
What we want.
We want justice.
What we want.
We want justice.
What we want.
We want justice.
No human rights.
In Tibet.
No human rights.
In Tibet.
Tibet's money.
China is lying.
Tibet's money.
China is lying.
Tibet's money.
China is lying.
Wake up, wake up.
United Nations.
Wake up, wake up.
United Nations.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
More freedom.
In Tibet.
More freedom.
In Tibet.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
China lie.
Tibet lies.
China lie.
Tibet lies.
China lie.
Tibet lies.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
We want.
Justice.
We want.
Justice.
We want.
Justice.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Let's the Dalai Lama.
Return to Tibet.
Let's the Dalai Lama.
Return to Tibet. Senshu Macha.
Longsho, longsho.
Baby Longsho.
Wake up, wake up.
United Nations.
Wake up, wake up.
United Nations.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
What we want.
We want justice.
What we want.
We want justice.
Longsho, longsho.
Baby Longsho.
Wake up, wake up.
Senshu Macha.
Longsho, longsho.
Baby Longsho.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Long live.
Dalai Lama.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
Boycott.
Beijing Olympic 22.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
No more sleeping.
United Nations.
Tibet's money.
China is lying.
Tibet's money.
China is lying.
No human.
Где la story? ¿Cómo cerca por ahí?
좋습니다.
Ya.
드린데 리그 캐는부터 소당 아니 다나신데 브리토베토 소신이제 엔다나신데 tanda de nganzo subi tunzo ge jegla de pesha andana shingi ene nganzo trin de mimong kala ganzan ji zomsha namshi kandi yeme lama de begi ani dila changmi tangbo pepe dila tochi ches chini shuayi an di dan cha ne dri nganzo de zomya di tsawe gi ne doa mi tabdang unye ni lo ani ko dunju dunju sung dung chini kobe gi dure re de ine nganzo dure sung tsi shuga gi de char chini diba ani doa mi tabdang unye ne ine nganzo unye ni lo sung gi chela nganzo pe di ani jana gi zinsu chebare chesan di imba indi manzo doa mi topdang unye ni kadin chenpu chungbe gi dindi gaga chichi chiya gi zombi gi nisu mare diri nganzo de yo ni doa mi topdang di chichi rangshin denbi gi ani henso chik re de budin tola tanda badu ani ko pen tobi gi ani dindi gi ani karso re nganzo dindi doling chungya dang tuchi shaya dang dindi chung ma songs rangbu chung ma songs chesan di yinbayindi nganzo tanda kimbi shuya de ani yuen weni ma ku ya langsho si jine nganzo kimbi shuya dang digi di chazang nganzo rangbu ma chung dugi pyoda chi shuguwa re di tsangma ani nyamdi jazo di ani gi kantara pyodin tola ani sung tuki meba indi nganzo tirinde ani shiwi gi kimbi dan shiwi gi ngungu jaya gi ani du somni res chene di shuya dang tsawe gi tani da ani ngana zo pyo gi nangla nedan hajang zata re denga ani nganzo ngabju ngata ni che dhukju dunju gi bado la ani ngana zo tanda pyo nangla ani ringme sarji se adi chungbi kabde la gomba dhukdong sigi torsha seni tunju yoba thongju yoba mi ngana zo pipi gi miri ani gumdhala chigi ani seme tangre seni nizu digi de thongju yoba ani yikto na yoba di dan dindi ki thone nganzo kempi chuya gi tingja ji yore de thandi ki nekabdila jami ki siju sunya de khari sungi yor se na ani zambulingi mingma thonga che che ne pyo di rangshin gi ani meba cha doya gi dindi siju chigi ting digi yore tanda ngana so rikshun ki tsawa di chwe re da nanshi ki re digi di tsame suyo bayi na namshi nganzo pipi ki su yo bayi ne gi namshi mebi ki soda bu chik tang dindi chaya ki lingu ani charshi denpa tang ani karsi wore lo mangbu chigi ani di gang la nganzo ma so na nyamshib chebi che ne ta pyo di tsame suyo la karila tu sha siya ki kunzu ki tata du si ne nyamshib cheba indi kei da tu diyo re chuel tuk diyo re chesan tanda badu digi digi chong ne nganzu pepa di pyo nangla tanda badu semshu chi ne diya tang pyo nangla ane pimi jata ngab chu nyenga ki ane rangru ane ko chunpi shuya ki digi nangla nying di takarang suyo re pyo nangla ani ki gi rawa che chu gi rawa che ani sumba de jarum che ani pyo la pe gure sin jarum che pyo la pe tu ba ne chu gi ani sum tu yong ge kiri sum ju yong ge pyo ding gi den ta ge se ge che san di im ba indi ne so den de bang go chi kang la pyo nang gi ani mi mang di ge tong ba she chu di ngan chu gi ani di laglenta go ji chagyo re sesan di imbe tande ke nekala ngara so denda chi yula de ni de so ama lagdung so da chi re sin ri ge nge chi de pugo yang la sa be ne du ye gi ngan chu thuk tu ye gi ngaran so la ani mikse ge dindi gi nibo dan dindi kha me be che ine gi ngaran so la ama lagdum ine gi ama kukmo me be je ne ke je shi ju yo be so da ji ngan so de ba la ani zamne nyamde chesu inare nisu kaba inage kempyu cha ne ngarang so rang di nisu di shabda chetuya yongda chetuya ge di never do want to ge di chegoya tang ni so mangpuchi nga so genki goya ge di yoba indu ene darin de nga so ge dindi ni so di ge dindi ge chashi chungju chi cha di ge ore di imba indu dindi de pini changmala ene nga so zo de dri kempe rang chungbu du sine tingi du ta nga so dindi ki dutsi kaan langi mangpo shiv mugwaya che ane chadu tila ane kempe naro naa shuyayin lang tache
tochi na kuwa la ni tanda Geneva tsokchung ki ane tumi yonga la nima chalo na juyi
Mrs. Michelle Bachelet, the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, appeal to break silence on Tibet. Your Excellency, we, the Tibetan community from Switzerland and Liechtenstein, appeal to you to break the silence and speak up against China's continued human rights violations in Tibet. Today, the United Nations and people across the world are celebrating 73rd anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights under the central theme, Reducing Inequalities, Advancing Human Rights. However, Tibetans in Tibet are silenced, suppressed, and subjugated so that every single right enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is denied by China. On the 73rd International Human Rights Day, we would like to once again appeal for your attention and intervene to bring China to account for its continued violations of human rights in Tibet. Your Excellency, the situation in Tibet is deteriorating significantly. The feeling of panic, conflict, and cultural crisis that Tibetans are undergoing on a daily basis can be described as follows. When the land you are accustomed to living in and the land of the culture you identify with, when the lifestyle and religiosity is suddenly changed into a modern city that you no longer recognize, when you can no longer find work in your own land and feel the unfairness of lack of opportunity, and when you realize that your core value systems are under attack, then the Tibetan people's panic and sense of crisis is not difficult to understand. By a group of Chinese lawyers who visited Tibet to conduct a field study to identify root causes of widespread protest in Tibet in 2008. On this International Human Rights Day, we would like to bring to your attention to one of our utmost concerns: A. Assimilation of Tibetan people, its culture and identity by China. B. Intensification of social control and surveillance in Tibet. Assimilation through education and shift in medium of instruction from Tibetan to Mandarin. Cultural assimilation in Tibet has been one of the serious concerns of Tibetan people for all these years. The Chinese Communist Party has outrightly moved and made cultural assimilation as the party's central aim of its policy under President Xi Jinping. Recent speeches and documents have increasingly put pressure to assimilate through changes in education and emphasize to phase out Tibetan language or de-emphasize the teaching in mother tongue. The Chinese authorities are shutting down all remaining Tibetan medium schools and informal Tibetan language classes. Under the One Culture and One Language campaign tag, the State Council of China has declared more efforts to be made to bring 85% of people in regions under its control to use Mandarin by 2025 and make Mandarin virtually universal by 2035. In July, the Singduk Tatse Middle School in the Golok Tibetan area was forced to shut down. A long-serving teacher of the school, Zinchin Ki, was arrested on 1st August for inciting separatism after holding a hunger strike in protest against the school closure. Just last month, Tango Monastery School in Kharze Tibetan area, which offered both Tibetan traditional and modern education, was demolished. Students of the school, around 130 Tibetan children, have been forced to return home without access to alternative schools with Tibetan language and cultural education. Reports indicate that at least 70% of schools across Tibet now use Chinese medium instruction. Sources indicate that all schools in the so-called Tibet Autonomous Region have all completed to shift the teaching and instruction from Tibetan language to Mandarin. Two students, Gurdak and Yangrik, both 19 years of age, from Tarlak Tibetan areas in Golok Tibetan Prefecture, were arrested on 24th August 2021 for posting their comment in WeChat social media platform against Chinese policy mandating all Tibetan schools in areas to teach in Chinese from September 2021. No information is available about their current whereabouts and well-being. In early August 2021, Gensen Getsa School in Tehor Rongbacha Township in Kharze in the Tibetan province of Kham was issued a closure warning notice by the local government. The school had been warned of severe consequences, including closure of school if the school does not switch into teaching the state-compiled textbooks and start using Chinese language as the medium of instruction, including conducting the school annual examination in Mandarin. Intensification of social control and surveillance. The level of social control and surveillance in Tibet has intensified since Cheng Huanggu, then party secretary for so-called Tibet Autonomous Region, took charge of the so-called Tibet Autonomous Region in 2012. In order to tighten the control and effectively silence Tibetans, a series of intensive social control and surveillance programs, including grid management, convenience police posts, and double-linked households, have been installed permanently in every corner of Tibetan areas. Under the grid management system, each city, villages, and towns are subdivided into cells for intrusive monitoring and surveillance, and a network of thousands of convenience police posts are installed physically. In addition to these systems, Tibetan families are divided into small groups, and loyal families are often paired with suspect families to watch behaviors under double-linked households. It serves as a low-level state surveillance to ensure keeps track of every family detail. 24-hour GPS monitoring ankle bracelet. Monitoring and surveillance of Tibetans, in particular potential troublemakers that includes Tibetan former political prisoners, are not new. However, the move comes in with more stringent moves with high-tech devices, including GPS monitoring, ankle bracelet, and cell phones. Tibetan political prisoners released since 2014 are required to wear 24-hour GPS monitoring ankle bracelets that can monitor movements and record conversations. The bracelet has a SIM card installed that sends alerts when the wearer crosses a set physical boundary or removes the GPS. In some cases, China issued cell phones, especially to former political prisoners who are forbidden to possess or not allowed to use cell phones of their own. Cell phones issued by the government have an inbuilt SIM card that is directly linked to the state control office, and the person in possession of the cell phone does not have to pay for the phone service, according to information received by Radio Free Asia. In view of above concerns and gross violations of human rights by China in Tibet, we would like to appeal Your Excellency to break your silence on Tibet and urge China to 1. Respect Tibetans' fundamental rights and immediately stop assimilatory policies and practices in Tibet. 2. respect Tibetan children's rights to access education in mother tongue. 3. End mass surveillance system including Greek management system, convenience police stations and double-linked households. 4. End discriminatory practices against Tibetan former political prisoners. And 5th, stop deploying high-tech to persecute and silence rights defenders. Yours sincerely, Kamachuki President and Tenzin Wangdu, Vice President of Tibetan Community in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. Thank you.
Tuchina